Well, welcome to this video, and I hope you like it. If you do, click the like button, hit subscribe, and share with a friend. And another short rant, and I kind of touched on this a little bit previously when I did a video on how we are our own worst enemy. But just, we need critical thinking. And, you know, in this election year, it's really highlighted that our education system sucks because we tend to teach kids what to think. You know, maybe liberals will teach their kids to be liberals. Maybe conservatives will teach their kids to be conservatives. Atheists will teach their kids to be atheists, and Christians will teach their kids to be Christians. But nobody's really teaching any critical thinking. Regardless of how street smart people think they are, we're a nation of idiots anymore. You know, we need to have a system where, you know, we're teaching our kids how to think and see through what is BS, and, you know, so we don't end up raising a nation full of middle-aged conspiracy theorists. You know, I really hate to see some of the things going on in this world as far as, you know, it seems like we're moving towards censorship, which really sucks. But, you know, I think things would be a lot better if we just had a population that was capable of seeing that something is bullshit, fake news, or spun, or taken out of context, rather than having Facebook or TikTok or Twitter or whoever try to police, you know, what people are posting. We should try to educate our population so we have a population that is smart enough to see through these things and understand what is fake and what is just BS made up, you know, pulled out of somebody's ass somewhere. You know, I'm really surprised that you know, a lot of the people, the things that they're reposting on social media, I just wonder how many checks they sent off to a rich Nigerian prince, you know, expecting to receive millions, as the old stereotypical scam from back in the day went. And it does affect otherwise intelligent people. I mean, I know of some really otherwise smart people who are convinced that the world is flat. I really don't understand how they came to that conclusion. But, you know, part of it is some people believe what they want to believe. It's easy to believe what you want to believe. It happens with relationships, but it also happens with religion and politics. People, you know, they'll grasp at any straw that backs up their preconceived notions. I've ran into it professionally. You know, I worked on a design. The design criteria was to take care of an 1.5 inches of water falling during a storm event, you know, limited within, you know, 24 hours. If 1.5 inches of water falls within 24 hours, you got to take care of it. And part of it was even, you know, if it falls in 5 minutes, you got to be able to at least contain it. But, you know, that's the storm. And, you know, we had they had a third party review our design, you know, another engineering firm. And the guy who reviewed it was actually the guy that owned the firm. He's one of the partners that owns this firm. And he comes back with, we should have planted street trees because they'll take care of tens of thousands of gallons of water over a year. And I mean, yeah, that looks great if you're posting something on Facebook for clickbait, but in reality, how many gallons a tree evapotranspirates during a year has nothing to do with taking care of cubic feet of water during a storm event. The time scale is off by, several orders of magnitude. There's what I think it's 6 point something gallons per cubic foot. So, the volume's different. This is an urbanized area that already has a ton of street trees. And even the whole concept of a street tree taking care of tens of thousands of gallons of water during a year is false. It's actually a rationally sized street tree is going to take care of something maybe around 1,500 gallons of water over a year. I mean, nobody's planting a giant sequoia underneath the power lines in a 2-foot wide strip between the curb and the sidewalk. A street tree that's rationally going to fit in there is not going to take care of tens of thousands of gallons of water in a year. Not a snowball's chance in hell. So it just goes to show you that, even people who are supposed to be professionals fall victim to this. It seems like we're living in a society these days that just doesn't think critically about anything they hear. They grab a hold of a story that fits their narrative, whether, politics, the environment, anything else. They grab this. Nobody thinks of the big picture and nobody critically thinks about it, especially when it's something that seems to back up their own viewpoint. You got to be willing to kind of look at it, because the flip side to this is when you start making arguments based on bullshit, it makes you look like an idiot. Even if you had a valid argument to begin with, if the facts you're using to back up your position, even if it's a valid position, are invalid, facts to support it, then, it makes your whole position look weak. And, it's a huge problem right now. I look at the politics right now, and it's like neither side makes sense on most things. And nobody really calls them out on it. The left supports the left and the right supports the right. And, the people who are thinking about it critically in the middle are just at a loss for what the hell to do. The COVID pandemic's become politicized. I don't understand that one. I mean, it is what it is. Look at the facts, deal with the facts. You may disagree on how to address a certain fact, but people are just trying to make up their own facts, basically. It's insane. And some of these things they make up don't even make sense on the face of them. But the only way I can see it getting any better is really teaching the future generations critical thinking. Teach people how to debate instead of argue. I mean, that's the other big thing. I mean, I don't agree with the way that Trump handles things. I also don't agree with the more fringe elements on the left that want to deplatform people. I mean, we need to get together and talk about things. That's the only way you work out a problem, is to talk your way through it. And the thing is, we need to raise a generation that knows how to do this. We don't need people that want to hide in safe spaces. We need people that'll come out of their little shell and have serious debates about, race, the environment, whatever. That's the only way you solve a problem, is to work through it. You can't bury your head in the sand and hope it goes away. You can't just hide it over there and like, oh, I don't see it anymore, therefore it doesn't exist. And all this partisan bullshit's just, it drives you crazy. Because, everybody's arguing. Everybody, as far as debating, there's certain terms for certain things that are false. You're supposed to be attacking the concept. You're not supposed to be attacking the person. The person is irrelevant. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. There's an old saying, so it doesn't matter whether the person's an asshole, it doesn't matter whether the person's an idiot, it doesn't matter what he's said or done in the past, doesn't matter. What somebody's saying is either a fact or it isn't. You can't, like I said, the person's character has no sway on their words one way or the other. You've got to attack the words. You got to attack the concept. You can't be attacking the person, because great, that seems to win popularity. Oh, you had a great comeback or whatever. You didn't prove them wrong. You can say somebody's fat, ugly, a liar, whatever. Doesn't mean they're wrong. The other thing I see the most is the straw man argument, which is basically you rearrange somebody's position to be something slightly different than what it is, and then attack that false position. I guess the easiest one is taxes, like the attack on, Biden wants to raise tax on the rich people, so therefore he wants to raise taxes on everybody. Attacking him as if he's is proposing to raise taxes for everybody is different than attacking his position that he stated about raising tax on people who make over a certain level. And you see this all the time. It's not, I'm just picking that one out of the air because it's something I've heard recently in the media, but the Democrats do it to Trump does it to the Democrats. There's a lot to go around, but nobody is really debating the issues anymore. Everybody's attacking some false representation of what the other guy's trying to say, or they're attacking the person directly. Those, there's other, false debating, more argumentative type categories, but those are the two biggest things we see going on. And, a lot of the country has become so partisan, they don't really see through that. They're looking at it, this reality show world we live in now. They're looking at it, if somebody has a good insult or a good cut down or a good attack or something, they're looking at it like they're scoring points in some sort of like a roast or something. It's they're not looking at the facts. The facts have to stand on their own. The position has to stand on its own. And people are getting farther and farther away from what actually is science. And, it's sad. Science shouldn't be politicized. You might have a different position on how to react to a given fact, but you shouldn't be just, distorting the facts or even just plain old fabricating them. That's the scary thing in the world today. And it has to do with the pandemic. It has to do with basically everything in politics, and it also has to do with the environment. I recently did a thing about coal mining and just kind of explaining, why are people fighting for coal mining jobs? Coal mining jobs tend to be hard, shitty jobs, but they also tend to exist in areas where there isn't much else out there. And, these people see it as fighting for their livelihood. They see their alternative as, living on welfare in a trailer somewhere. You got to understand other people's perspectives. You got to have a little bit of empathy. You've got to have that critical thinking. You've got to understand what the other person's position is, and you've got to be able to represent your own position with facts. You've got to look at you've got to look at things critically. And until we do start understanding as a nation, as a society, how to look at things critically, we're just slowly, we're slowly turning into a countrywide reality show. We've got over-the-top personalities just yammering at each other, causing drama. That's most of what we've got now, is just drama. And we're not solving anything until we address the issues. We need to be able to come out and, debate these things like human beings. And I mean, from an environmental perspective, because I'm trying to stay focused on that point of it, I mean, there isn't a no-cost alternative. We ought to be able to look critically at, okay, what is the impact of this? Do the thing that has the least impact. And you've got to look at feasibility. You can disagree on details of stuff, but I mean, people's positions are just so out there and so spun, it's, you got people thinking that, whether it's Roundup or GMO crops or coal mining or whatever, it seems like the people that control the conversation for some reason always seems to degenerate into people that are like, think it's the best thing in the world, or it's the greatest, or it's the worst thing that ever happened. It's either the greatest or the worst. Nobody ever looks at the pros and cons of anything from a rational point of view, or at least very few people. And when somebody does, usually that rational analysis gets grabbed by some other media source, or gets chopped up and posted on social media or whatever, just totally spun and out of context. And the people digesting this just don't seem to have the critical thinking to even understand that it is spun. There's like, oh, this fits into my narrative. This is ammo for me to argue with the other guy. And as long as we keep that mentality, and we don't learn as a nation to actually, think critically and be able to debate issues rationally, and judge people's positions on the merit of that position and the argument they have to back it up, rather than these partisan straw man attacks and these personal ad hominem attacks. We're never going to solve anything. And it's just sad that we seem to have this total lack of intelligence when it comes to dealing with this stuff. And it seems like every generation we get dumber. And you know, we know more about technology. We know less about just how to think critically. We have no street smarts. You know. But at any rate, I'll leave it there. Hopefully it makes you think a little bit. I wish I had some sort of solution to this, but being that our education system itself is controlled by politics, I mean, it's not really, you know, it's not PhD historians that are voting on your history books that are going to be taught in your local school system. It's a bunch of politicians. And that's why, you know, if you're in an industrial area, you get sort of a pro-industrial capitalist view of history. And if you live in the South, you get more of a pro-South view of history. If you live in the North, you get more of a pro-North view of history. You know, I would assume if you live out west, you get a history that's more biased towards, you know, manifest destiny and the westward expansion and how great that was. And you know, every region, that's part of the reason why we have such regional fighting, is people just have a totally different concept of reality because that's what's taught to them. And, you know, it affects how people are taught science, whether it's more pro-environment or more pro-chemistry or more pro-agriculture or whatever. You've got, you know, whatever's controlling your local politics is also controlling the curriculum of your local schools. People don't normally even realize this. A lot of the stuff you learn in a public school education isn't even right, let alone just being skewed. You know, there's entire books written on, you know, false facts that kids are normally taught in most, you know, high school history classes. It's, you know, it's skewed to suit a political narrative. And that political narrative is controlled by whatever politics dominates your local region. And, you know, that's sad. We need to eliminate that, and we need to teach critical thinking. But I think that the powers that be are worried that if we thought more critically, you know, we'd probably have a lot less career politicians. So, at any rate, see you on the next one. Well, I hope you found that video informative. Hopefully it made you think, and please click the like button and subscribe if you haven't done that already, and check out the video that should be appearing somewhere around me here, and I hope to see you on the next one. Thanks.